Oleksandr Usyk, Daniel Dubois, the rematch. Fantastic fight. You must be pretty pleased, Frank.
I'm very pleased. It's good that we've been able to work together to make this happen. It's a history for the UK. There's never been a heavyweight unification fight, and this is for the 4 recognised belts, plus the ring, the IBO. This is something extra special, and it's the 2 best fighting each other. Usyk, the number 1.
Absolutely.
And I think Daniel's number 2. And this is his moment in time to try and make himself the number 1.
Was this always what you wanted, Frank? I mean, obviously what you tend to get, and I'd be gentle with my words, is if someone wins a world title, they might get a little bit of a gimme before they go into a huge fight like this. Is this the ideal scenario for Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's a young man. He's coming off a good run of wins against 2 undefeated fighters. Both won a mandatory challenger in Hrgovic. Babe Miller, who's top 10 ranked, and obviously a 2-time world champion in AJ. And in all those fights, including the fight before those 3 fights against Oleksandr, he was the underdog.
Can I ask you, Egis? I mean, given the landscape and the shake-up now, Oleksandr's obviously beaten Tyson Fury twice. Is this the fight that he really wanted, given the circumstances of the landscape of the boxing world in the heavyweight division as it is now?
Well, you know, Oleksandr already reached a lot, achieved a lot in the boxing. You know, beating Joshua twice, Fury twice. He was undisputed in the cruiserweight division. He was undisputed in the heavyweight division. And right now, for him is a chance to become undisputed in the heavyweight division a second time, which is never ever done in the history before. So for him, it's just not to win a fight. For him, just to win a legacy. He's already a legacy, but right now he's going to put the dot, probably, which is we're not going to see in the future anybody going to repeat that.
If he wins that undisputed game for the second time and creates this legacy and history, where does the motivation come from after that? Is there talks of, you know, this could possibly be his last fight, or is he not looking beyond that? I mean, tell us where his motivation comes from.
The motivation is going to be who is the next.
Right. But I mean, like, he's cleaned up the division. If he beats Daniel Dubois again for a second time, he's pretty much beat every top contender out there. So where does he find it there? Is that a conversation after that? Is there life after that?
Who is the next? Again, if it's going to be a good opponent next, of course it's going to be a motivation for him to train. Because, you know, to get the motivation, you need to have a good opponent in front of you.
So there's been no conversation about, like, maybe retiring after winning this one or that undisputed for the second time. Has that ever been a conversation?
We are a team where we're not running ahead of a time. We're not running ahead of a train. We're going with a train. So right now, the whole team, everybody is concentrated on July 19th. Let the July 19th go. On the July 20th, we're going to start talking what is next.
Is this a one-fight deal? Is this one fight?
For us, yes.
If Dubois wins?
You have to ask Dubois' promoter.
Then he wins. And then we'll look and see where we go.
I'm asking, is there a rematch clause in this particular fight?
What our contract is, unless somebody wants to tell me that I can be ignore the confidentiality agreement, then I'll do it. But as far as I'm concerned, we're focusing on this one, and not if. I do believe Daniel will come through, then we'll make the right decision. It depends how the fight turns out.
Sure.
Because Daniel wins, you've got a trilogy.
That's why I'm asking, because obviously Oleksandr brings 3 belts to the table.
So, even probably without the contract, would be a smart thing to do.
Sure.
And we've got a great relationship, so that's not.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
All the time. Don't keep on.
No.
Well, he always speaks very highly of you, Egis. Listen, UK and Wembley. I mean, I personally think it's the best place in the world to fight. I think we have the best boxing fans. For this fight to have been staged in the UK and Wembley, Frank, how have we got to that point, and why are you guys comfortable with fighting in Daniel's back garden?
Usyk always was the warrior on the road. He was fighting all the time in somebody's backyard. So for him, this is what it does.
But he fought Daniel in
motivation.
Poland, didn't he, though?
Yeah, Poland was
Very big Ukrainian.
Yes, yes, I agree on that. But right now, I believe Usyk has more fans in UK than any of the other UK fighter. And I think Wembley was the very good choice to do it.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Well, obviously, there's a terrible situation in Ukraine with the war.
Sure.
So he's fighting away from home, and they're professional fighters, and it'll generate the most income in this country.
I think Alexander's very recognised in the UK with the history of the
he
fighters
is.
he's beat, going way back to Tony Bellew at
He's
Cruiserweight.
beaten every British fighter he's fought in this country.
Frank, can I ask you, how does this show work then? Is it, I know it's a K2 and a Queensbury promotion, joint promotion, so will it be Queensbury fighters versus K2 fighters through the card? I mean, how does that work?
There may be some of those.
Could it be like one of those?
We sort of briefly discussed the undercard, and we'll work that out. But the most important thing is the fight. The biggest fight in boxing is happening. It's the biggest fight. It's the biggest guys in the biggest fight.
Can I ask you, Frank? I mean, what do you think is the fundamental difference between the Daniel Dubois that fought Oleksandr 2.5 years ago and the Daniel Dubois that now faces him now?
I think he's matured mentally, very much so. The talent's always been there. You know, he can punch,
Sure.
he can box, he's quite fast. That's there, and it's probably improved on that. He's only 27 years of age. But I think mentally, he grew up a lot after the first fight with Alexandra. And he's shown that in his next 3 fights. As I said, he was underdog. He got even the build-up to the fights, where normally he doesn't say boo to a goose.
Yeah, he's coming at himself.
He'd come out of himself, and certainly with AJ,
AJ,
in that room with AJ. I mean, AJ is a street guy. And I'm not being disrespectful in fact saying that. He's come from the streets.
Yeah.
He's had, a bit like myself, come
didn't let
from
him
that
push him around, did he?
background. You know, Daniel's not been like that. He's been brought up since a kid to be a boxer. That's his father's mantra
Right.
with him, and that's where he's at. And he tried, I think in some ways, you know, he's quite cute, AJ. He was trying to put it on him a little bit, you know, like I'm a you know, who I am, you show me some respect and that. And then that moment when it sort of went off and he jumped, he said, come on, let's have it here.
Yeah.
I thought was a telling moment for him, as was the same thing against Hrgovic.
Yeah.
When Hrgovic done the same thing, saying he had no balls or whatever, and he replied
Going to school him and all that sort of stuff.
and replied to him in language. I never heard him swear before. It's the first time I heard.
Can I ask you about Alexander? I mean, I have a deep-seated admiration for him. I think he's a remarkable man. I think we've had him in a studio in a different show a little earlier, where I think he just exudes all the sophistication that heavyweight champions should have to exhibit. But coming against Daniel Dubois now, Daniel Dubois is a younger man, a regenerated, reinvigorated man. How do you, as the Usyk camp, view the Dubois challenge?
Well, we think it's a very competitive fight. We think Dubois is going to come in different than he was 2.5 years ago. We already talk about that. We understand he already get better where he was 2.5 years ago, and we understand it's not going to be walk in the park. It's going to be a very, very heavy, very, very difficult fight for Alexander.
Do you expect a more challenging fight? Do you expect it to be a better version of the first fight?
I believe so. That's what the Daniel's going to bring it to the ring. That's what keeps Alexander motivated. That's what keeps him preparing for the fight, training hard, and get ready for July 19th. I think it's going to be a really, really competitive fight.
And you have to take your hat off to him for that. You didn't have to do it.
Do you see Daniel as the biggest threat in that heavyweight division right now? When you look at the landscape of the heavyweights, I know we've got some good fighters like Moses Atoma coming through, but right now, do you think that Daniel is the biggest threat to Alexander out of all the other heavyweights?
Right now is the best opponent what he can get.
Yeah.
The best fight, the best opponent what Alexander can get today, it's Daniel Dubois. There is no other.
Not wishing to break up this lovely spirit of a cold, where are we on the low blow from the last fight? We've just seen in the studio Alexander bring in a picture which Frank says absolutely has nothing to do with the real picture of what happened in that fight.
I can see a picture in Frank's
Where are we on the low blow discussion, and how do we make sure it doesn't happen again?
Well, that's up to the referee. One thing the referee didn't do before the fight was to come into the dressing room and go through that. He didn't do that. which was remiss of him. He just didn't do that. And the rest of it, we're repeating the same old stuff. He's shown his pictures. I've got mine in my back pocket right here if you want to see them again. Not a problem for me. But you've said it, you don't feel it's the same. And it's a split. People are split with it, what they say.
I didn't think it was a low blow. I think Daniel got well beaten in the end, but I don't think
but he lost the momentum of the fight.
Just a 1 second. Just a 1 second. Everybody was in the pictures when punch finished. The punch came from the bottom, and it came up. So all the pictures, what you guys have, it's already finished the punch.
Do you think that the two fights, Frank, I'm going to ask you to observe on Usyk. I think we all admire him for his achievements. And we all admire for the way he conducts himself. Yeah. Do you think that the two fights that he's had with Tyson Fury have taken a little bit out of him, which makes it a different fighter for Daniel to fight than the fighter that he fought last time round?
I do, and I hope that's going to be the case. I do. They were, especially the first fight. The first fight was a tougher fight. Second one, obviously, I knew each other a bit more. But I would say this. It's my job to say, but I do think there is a way to beat Oleksandr, but it's got to be a good quality.
But you think take the body, don't you?
I think but I think it's fair to say if you're going back to that fight and then you look at what Daniel's achieved since then and how he's grown as a fighter, it's a different fight altogether, as Egis already recognises. So.
But we've not seen any chinks in Usyk.
No, absolutely.
We've not seen anything in Usyk.
He's the best heavyweight of our modern generation, for sure.